today to what they understand what strength means. Strength today is a way of looking at the world. It is a lens, it is a view. This is, and all your strengths, when they come together, they combine to create a certain perspective. Why do you do the things you do? Why are you attracted to certain things more than the others? Why is it that some things ignite your passion while other things leave you bored? Why is it that some students enjoy history classes where many go to sleep in a history class? What is it about the subject that gets someone interested and gets someone to master in it or even go for higher studies in it, and where most would be happy to leave it at the door at the, with our 10th standard. The same with mathematics, the same with science. So it's a view of our world which is informed by our view and our hidden talents, which when every single day practiced, when every single day we discover them, if we work towards them, if we nurture them, then those become strengths. There was once upon a time where there were a lot of stories about how basketball players, cricket players, any sports or any academicians, right? They spent a lot of time practicing one particular skill to look for that one victory, that one achievement that would drive a home run and take them to glory. And after that, you would have never heard of them again. For a long time in our society, our parents, our grandparents have always spoken to us about, if something is your weakness, you have to work towards it. We have heard about balanced individuals. We have heard about you have to work and sharpen your skills so that you're great at everything. But my dear friends, it's not possible. It's not even true. We are gifted with certain things. We are gifted with a way of listening. We are gifted with a way of seeing things. We are gifted with a way of understanding things. And those worldviews of ours make us good at what we are. So if you spend your life trying to be good at everything, you will never be great at anything. And this is not me. These are top psychologists today across the world who are voicing out this concern so that we can move towards a generation that spends a lot more time working on their strengths rather than fixing their weaknesses. So let me not revolve around a lot of philosophy, a lot of gyan. Let me tell you where this revolution around strength started. In the early 1950s, the Nebraska School Council commissioned a study of 6,000 10th grade students. Okay, and the study was really to understand. It was rather to teach rapid reading to 10th grade students. Right? They used various techniques, tachytoscopy, films, specific student efforts, teacher efforts, right? So a lot of methodology was used, right? And when they did the first test, which was at the beginning of the study, the highest speed, reading speed of the students was 300 words per minute. Over a period of 6 months, students, teachers, different teaching methodologies, a lot of effort, a lot of dedication and focus. 6 months later, they redid this test. And what they saw, where the numbers went, was anybody's guess. Would anyone like to guess over here what might have been the result post 6 months of this effort? Is there anyone, I'd love to hear from participants over here. If anyone can take a guess at a number, please speak.
You may raise hand who know the answer or want to answer.
Yeah, I think a few participants are muted, but some people can address it on the chat box. That's all right. I will read it out for everybody's benefit.
No answer till now.
You wanted to say something?
No answer till now.
All right. So After 6 months of effort, the result was 2,900 words per minute. That is where the number went from 300 to 2,900. So not only was this number astonishing, but it also raised questions to further look deeper into saying, how did this happen? What were the factors that drove this kind of result? So the first thing they did was they attacked the teaching methodology, that maybe that there is a specific teaching or specific method that is resulting in these numbers, and they found no significant difference. Then they figured that maybe it is a teacher that is making the difference. So they looked at all the different teachers who had been allocated and whether those were having an impact, and they found nothing. Though there was certainly some results of improvement, but nothing to explain a jump to 2,900. And the only conclusion they could draw is that it is the individuals and individual students that if they were already good, that they did better. The students who were not so good at the beginning of the test also certainly performed better, but it was those students who were at the top of the rank were the ones who excelled further. So that's one research, and very individual specific. I'd like your attention a little more to how the industry is working. So this is another study that happened in the 1980s in a UK brewery house, right? And they were managing roughly 7,200 pubs at that point of time. What these pubs were interestingly doing is that every time there was a drop in sales, they would take that particular pub and they would refurbish it top to bottom. And they found that there was a 15% increase in sales, though these sales didn't last very long, maybe about roughly 9 months to 12 months. But the management justified, saying that, hey, we got 15% increase in revenue over a period of 12 months, so that justifies. Now, here comes an American psychologist and asks, you know, if you are refurbishing and finding a 15% jump in sales, why don't you use the same approach in your best-selling pubs and see what the result is? Well, the Britishers laughed off, saying that this is another moronic suggestion by an American. But one pub manager, one regional manager, decided to give the idea a chance because he saw some merit in it. So there, a study was taken where they decided to refurbish 8 pubs with low yield income and 8 pubs with high yield income. And they refurbished, they spend the equal amount of energy, they spend equal amount of money, and they refurbished these 16 pubs. At the end of 6 months, they looked at results. Of course, certainly the low yielding pubs had you know, they had revived, and there was much more sales activity that was happening, and then there was a number to speak of. Everybody was happy. But what they found is that the pubs that were doing well, already doing well and were refurbished, drove 7 times higher profit than the low yielding ones. Once again, this is not what the Britishers were expecting. So they went back to say that, hey, how did this happen? Why did this happen? We were very happy with a 15% yield, but now you're talking to us about 7 times higher yield. So where is the difference? So they went back step by step to locate, they inspected variables like location, they inspected variable like competition, a lot of other factors, and finally they figured that one differentiating factor, the only one that explains the difference, is the individual talent present within the pubs. At an organization level, where each individual's talent is measured, is monitored, is rewarded, the collective strength becomes much higher than the individual strength. And from these studies, and there are various other studies to indicate the same, organizations have long moved towards working towards understanding individual strengths, helping individuals to do better at what they do best rather than trying to fix them, tell them that this is your weakness and this will not work, and allowing them to manage it as they go along. And these differences
or more than the sum of the individual.
And these differences today are producing organizations with a different mindset and a different work culture. Again, it is the lens that we are talking about. Look at this picture. There is someone who is at the top, but he didn't reach there accidentally. He reached there because he had a certain point of view that allowed him the motivation, the energy to view the task and work towards it. And there's another individual who is not really motivated because there is a story he's telling himself in his head. And when your personal motivations do not align to the work you're doing, it's very difficult for anybody else or external circumstances and factors to come and change that for you. And this is something that I would like to talk to students today, where you are grappling with a situation where you're passing out of college, you are wondering whether you should go for higher studies, you're wondering whether whether you should look out for a job. If you want to look out for a job, who will give you a job? What kind of job should you work towards? How should you prepare towards it? Do you want to work towards a bank PO job? Do you want to work towards a software engineering job? Are you committed to the core that you have taken? What will it be for you? So these questions plague us, right? But I'm not saying life is going to get easy, but what does happen is the more you focus inward, the more you understand what your natural talents are, the way you feel, the way you think, the decisions you make because of the way you think and feel. The time you invest in practicing a certain skills, when you put them together, is what builds your strength. And strength is something that comes to your aid consistently and proves near perfect result every single time. And hence it becomes important to not just know what your strengths are, become aware of them, what they bring to you, but also invest in them. What I will do at this point of time is I'd like to play a short video, right? And with that, a lot more things will become clearer.
Do you ever wonder why you make the choices you do? Why some things come naturally while others don't? Why you are drawn to certain activities and not to others? There's a simple but powerful reason: your talents. When you understand your unique talents, you have the power to harness them, and your whole world can change. We see talent in people around us every day. The patterns of thought, feeling, or behavior that give them a unique edge. Sometimes it may even seem effortless. In fact, our talents are the keys to our innate potential. When we tap into them, we act with more confidence, inspiration, and direction. But we often take our most powerful talents for granted, or we may not even be aware of them. That's why the Clifton Strengths Finder was developed, to help you discover your areas of greatest potential. Grounded in more than 5 decades of study, the Clifton Strengths Finder is an invaluable tool designed to help you identify and activate your talents and strengths for greater happiness and success. After completing the assessment, you'll receive a personalized report describing your signature themes of talent and an action plan designed to help you unlock your innate potential. Performing at your best is easier than you may think. When you approach your work, relationships, and community from your personal areas of strength, success follows. So what are you waiting for? Transform your world today.
So that was a short presentation on what is strengths. So what happens when you know strengths? Why the emphasis on strengths? And what impact does it make on your daily lives? Before I go there, I want to take a small for a lack of a better word, a small history class on where this evolution of strength philosophy comes from. We fast forward roughly 100 years, okay, 110 years, give or take. And we reach an era where the first force of psychology came into being. We have, many of us heard of Carl Jung and Sigmund Freud. These were established gentlemen based out of Germany, based out of the European region, and they were doing the first set of studies where they looked at people who had problems, and they looked at it saying that typically, if you're coming to me, tell me what's wrong with you. And they chose to look at the brain behavior and what is wrong with the internal structure of people, internal thinking patterns of people, and to them, anyone and everybody was a patient. About 50 years later came Skinner and Pavlov. These people said, it's not the brain. What you can't see, you cannot determine. But what you can see is the behavior, and what you can see is what you can control. So Mr. Pavlov did experiment with dogs, and Mr. Skinner did experiment with rats. I'm sure a lot of you have heard of the Pavlov dog experiment, right? However, the approach was still pathological in nature to figure out what's wrong with you. And then came the next stage where they said that human beings do not just operate in a broken fashion. They might not be 100% complete, but they have enough elements running in them to be psychologically functioning. And the more you focus on what is good with them, the better their morale becomes, and the stronger, internally stronger they get. And the more stronger they get, the higher the motivation, the higher the ability to go and change things the way they want it to be. And that was humanistic psychology. And finally, since the advent of the 21st century came the fourth wave, which is the positive psychology. And positive psychology totally talks about what is right with the human being. They look at everything that makes you a fully functioning, thriving person who has the ability, who has the skills, who has the will, who has the motivation to pull up and move forward. They believe every single step you take gets better and stronger with encouragement, not with criticism. And with this approach is what and where parents are changing their parenting methodology, colleges are changing their teaching methodology, and organizations are changing their culture. A culture that is a lot more inclusive, a lot more holistic, and looks to map the right talent with the right set of work. Promote people for what they're already good at and sharpen it, rather than put people in boxes and say that we don't really care what you are capable of, but this is what I need done, and just get to it. That was the Industrial Revolution era that happened in the about what, 200 years ago? That is no longer the philosophy organizations take. And it is this approach that is changing worldwide that I want to bring to all of your notice. I want to bring that to you as a lifestyle change, as a mindset change, as a philosophical change. I have a small video to play over here, but it is roughly 5 minutes. I would actually, I don't want to bore everybody with this, so I would rather ask the audience here that do you want me to play that, or should I proceed? Please help me with your answers on the chat group, and I can take it from there.
No, you please play.
All right, sir.
Today I want to talk to you about the disease model.
What's that?
Where'd you come from? It's a perspective that people take when they evaluate well-being.
Huh?
Don't worry, it'll be clear shortly. Just bear with me for a couple of minutes. To understand the disease model, let's peek at the recent history of psychology. You'll probably agree that most people call psychologists to help them fix something wrong. But let me ask you, would you ever call one to increase what's right with you? While this may be a strange concept now, it wasn't in the 1940s. At this time, psychology actually had three distinct missions: to cure mental illness, to nurture youth and great potential, and to promote happiness. Yes, the mission included promoting happiness. The field was pretty small at the time, and most psychologists worked in academics or experimental settings. The real therapy was reserved for more esteemed psychiatrists at the time. That is, until a major event changed everything: World War II. Now, what seems to be the problem? Aches, pains?
No, Doc, nothing like that. No aches. But he's not sleeping, and when he does, he has nightmares. He screams in his sleep. When I ask him about it, he says he can't remember. And he doesn't really want to do anything. He just basically lies around all day. Something is really wrong, Doctor.
Hey, Judy, I got a case here for you.
What seems to be the issue?
A returning soldier. I think he's shell-shocked.
Sorry, I can't take him, Lou. I have more than 50 of those cases in myself right now. Wait. I have an idea. Hey, Jer, it's Judy. Listen, I need some help. I have too many patients. Can you take one off my hands?
What? A person? A real one? Yes, love to.
Hey, mental health professionals.
Yes?
We've got a problem. We have soldiers coming back and they're all, we need to figure out what's wrong with them.
Well, my colleagues are already overwhelmed.
We'd be happy to help, but there aren't enough of us trained to work in a therapeutic setting.
Not enough of you trained? Don't you worry about that. We'll take care of it.
After World War II, there were more soldiers hospitalized for psychological problems than physical injuries. The US government made monstrous investments to try to remedy the mental health issues. Dozens of PhD programs were created to train clinical psychologists. Large grants were handed out to research causes and solutions to help the vets. The field of psychology exploded not just in the US, but all around the world. What does this have to do with the disease model? I was just getting to that right now. Amazing strides were made in mental health after World War II. Disorders were classified and treatment protocols were created. For example, what they called shell-shocked is now the better understood condition of post-traumatic stress disorder. Okay, what do you got? OCD, depression, addiction? Come one, come all, I have some solutions. While millions of people have been helped, all of this focus on disease has not come without a cost. Here's the reality. Today, the rate of anxiety, depression, stress, in both adults and youth is skyrocketing. Currently, 1 in 5 youth will endure a major episode of depression by the age of 18. How can this be with all the focus on healing and treatment? It may actually be because of this reason. Think about this. Well-being has become about one thing: rooting out problems and fixing them. This disease model is a perspective that we've taken on as a society. Under the disease model, we look out for stuff that is wrong. Are my kids on drugs? Are they getting bad grades? Are they suffering from disease or disorder? If so, let's fix it. If not, they're doing great. We assume that if our children are not, quote, troubled, they're just fine. But ladies and gentlemen, if you take something from this brief history lesson, let it be this. The absence of something wrong with their youth does not equate to something being right. To raise fulfilled, productive, engaged, and happy youth, the research shows that we have to give them skills to both prevent what can go wrong and skills to promote what is right. Fortunately, we're in the midst of a paradigm shift. Psychology is reverting back to its roots. In fact, a new field devoted to researching and promoting what is right with humans has emerged: the science of positive psychology. Many of the 8 skills you're about to learn are based on research from this science. Get ready for a shift you will see in your life and benefits you will reap by looking at the world from a whole new perspective.
So that was a small snippet about the background of where this thought and this approach is coming from. Today, there are several organizations that are leading this space to educate people better. Some are NGOs, some are profit-making organizations, some are just research organizations. But the one that is most popularly available for us to take an assessment and figure out what are our natural thinking patterns is called Gallup. And they have categorized strengths into 34 specific talents, and those are further bucketed into themes. One is called the execution theme, one is called the influencing, the other is relationship building, and finally strategic thinking. Now all these are methods and patterns of thinking. What this particular assessment does is, it is not a test. You need to understand, a test requires you to mark an answer or write an answer that is either right or wrong or somewhere in between. An assessment, however, is only a measure of what your personality is like. There are no right answers, there are no wrong answers. It is just your way of thinking. And at the end of the assessment, you get a report that talks to you about your top 5. There is, given that there are 34 of these strengths that are identified, if you go and take the full report, you would get your entire pecking order from first to last of how your natural talents occur, which are the strongest, and going down to the ones that are the least strongest, right? And it is these strengths that we have to understand, become aware of, explore, accept, and then move to the next stage in terms of understanding how they help us move forward. I will take case and point examples of what some of these talent themes might sound like, and help me understand, and some of you might relate to some of these over here. Out of 34, I have chosen a few that I think and believe will help some of you identify and see whether this makes sense to you, if this is a way you think, if this is something that you understand and can explore further to figure out how life can be if you're thinking from the lens of strength.
To me, people are like trees, full of potential to grow and develop if they're given the right conditions, experiences, and environments to thrive. As a college academic advisor, I meet with students on a daily basis. Some of them know exactly what they want to do with their lives, but others lack confidence and direction. My developer theme helps me interact with each student in a special way. I support those who are excelling and challenge them to push themselves to the next level. But students who are struggling or need help finding a direction, I offer advice and encouragement. I often tell students to explore their interests and passions to help them grow and hopefully experience some successes along the way. Helping students realize their full potential brings great joy and a sense of fulfillment to my life. There is nothing like seeing young men and young women grow and become the people they were meant to be.
Now, this is somebody who has developer in their top 5. I read a research not so long ago that spoke to me, that read about how having developer as a top talent theme is a very crucial talent theme in the education and academician industry. Interestingly, I have a friend, and I was a coach to my friend as well, and she had developer as one of her top 5s. And it immediately struck a chord with me when I always saw her, the amount of effort she would put in children that were slow in class or were slow in picking up something. Children, be patient with children who she developed, and she had this natural ability to see unique strengths in the children. And she would have discussions during parent-teacher meeting with with a focus on what she has discovered and how the parents can help further build on a child's talent. Now, these are the kind of people you want who are taking care of your children. This particular gentleman over here, this kind of mindset is what students over here would most benefit from. And this is just one example, but I urge you to think that how a talent theme can naturally help in also choosing and making a choice about what kind of career might fit you best. This particular theme automatically is most well suited for people where there is a lot of training effort involved, a lot of learning effort involved, skilling, reskilling effort involved, encouragement involved, right? Think of somebody who is appearing for the police academy. And if they have developer in their top 5, what could be a good place for them to go within a police academy? Think of somebody who has a developer and is actually joining a call center or has decided to do their MBA. What might be a good profession for them to choose, knowing that they are somebody who can really develop and nurture other people's talents. So this is a mindset view, mindset approach that I want to bring to you. We'll move on to another example.
You know, I was not surprised to find that I have responsibility in my top 5. It affects everything I do. It's the voice in my head that says, you said you would do this, so let's get it done right, no matter what it takes. I do what has to be done. As a project manager for a large engineering and construction company, my responsibility theme is at play every day in every way. It motivates me to follow every project to completion. I take ownership of anything I commit to, and my clients and colleagues know that I will. I don't cut corners with my projects, and I make sure that everything I do is quality work. My team and I have an excellent reputation for being dependable and doing things right. Consequently, we are in high demand. Whenever a task or request comes up, I instinctively want to say yes, but I have to be selective. I have to make sure we can take it on, deliver on time, and do it right before I agree to a new project.
I'll give you another piece of trivia around the responsibility theme. There's a research that happened across several geographies, and it was found, interestingly, that Asians have the responsibility theme, which is the most recurring and popular theme. You will not be surprised that it is this responsibility theme that a lot of us take care of our parents. A lot of us take care of the elderly. A lot of us are a lot more committed to the work we do. A lot of us are in demand internationally. It is exactly that this theme that allows us as a nation to outshine. Well, people with this responsibility theme can pick up anything they want to do, but might want to also pay attention to what other themes might come up to help them decide which career they are going to take, because whatever they take, they are going to give their 200% to it. Along with that comes the downside of these people having a problem of burnout because they are trying to do too many things and trying to fulfill too many commitments. If you have one of those themes, your own responsibility to yourself will be to make sure that you're not burning at all ends. You're not burning on all 4 cylinders. You are picking the right initiatives which will help you move forward. You are careful of making commitments and not overcommitting. And the ones that you pick up, finding the best way to fulfill those so that you can make time and place for more. So this is how we apply our strengths to our daily lives, to our work, to our families. Let me take one more.
I manage a customer support call Center, where we field customers' questions and complaints. My team members are often yelled at and sometimes called names. And quite frankly, they deal with people at their worst. So it's challenging to motivate my staff to answer these calls with fun and humor that keeps everyone is too small to celebrate. So my positivity really helps me keep my team members happy and motivated, and I know that their positive attitudes transfer through the phone lines to our customers.
Let me give you a real life story of how I was coaching somebody at a robotics organization. And this person would work part of the time in the shop floor, had a lot of operations responsibility. And this is an organization that was trying to make robots under 10 lakhs and make them accessible to the vast manufacturing industries that are there in India. Right. So the cost of robots in India is 40 lakhs onwards. So to bring the cost down below 10 lakhs and make it affordable is really, really thing. And while I was coaching this person, I found out that, of course, scalability has its own problem, and especially when you are doing that at very strict budgets. You have to maintain quality, you have an R&D work together to come up with not just mechanical solutions, but also that will eventually all sum up and add up to make this low-cost robot available. And guess what? It was not an easy job at all. And we found out that the more we leveraged and the more he leveraged his positivity theme, the more he was self-charging himself. And the more he was self-charging himself, he could motivate his team. And this became one of the most crucial ways that this organization came up with new designs, new R&D, was able to put all their constraints behind and move forward. And this is how we leverage our strengths at workplace to create impact. I don't know if we have time for one more, but I will play just one last video to drive the point home.
The key to winning a game a few moves ahead. You need to be able to see the whole board, consider all of the possible maneuvers, anticipate the challenger's actions, and determine the best move possible to set you up for the win. Be able to do the same thing. My strategic theme helps me to think of all of the relevant possibilities. 2. What questions will the client ask? What if sales rep? I have to be prepared, ready to respond, ready with an answer, and ready to act. My strategic theme helps me see the whole board, quickly weigh alternative moves, and determine the one that's best for me.
Here I'll take my own example. And I'll take this example because there is a lot more attached to it than one particular theme, and hopefully would also give all our students an insight over here as to how the world around us has changed. I was at the peak of my career when I discovered the philosophy of strength. And when I did, my entire world changed. In my top 5, I did not have a relationship theme that gave me the strength to deal with 100 people a day. And here I sat thinking that no wonder I feel tired at the end of the day, no wonder I feel exhausted at the end of the day. How am I going to continue like this? I did not have one administrative or execution skill, not in my top 5, but in my entire top 10 list of strengths. Which is when where strategic is one of my top 5, I figured that I have to be able to think of a long-term solution to this, leveraging what I have today, my 10 years of career. I'm right at the top. How do I pivot this? How do I move forward so that I enjoy working with people? I have a lot of industry knowledge, business acumen. How do I make it so that without being responsible for administrative elements, I'm still able to add strategic value, long-term vision-oriented value to an organization? I used my strengths to make my next decision to change from the mainstream HR into a totally different career. And this is how, again, we don't just self-reflect, become aware, but we also take specific action which align to our strengths, which align to our interest, which align to our motivation, and keep the game going for the long haul. The industry today around us has changed. It is giving us a second chance, a third chance, and allowing us to experiment, to explore. And the more we are willing to give in, the stronger the industry is willing to accept us. And this is something that all of you who are looking out for a job at this point of time, entrepreneur, a lot of you are thinking of as opportunities. And they're okay with individuals. In many ways, millennials, they are sought after. The millennials today, they are looking to bring in the next wave of ideas, the next wave of execution. Show us how it can be done your way, not the old way. And that, my dear, is what this new philosophy, the new positive psychology philosophy of strengths brings to the table. I know there's a long monologue going over here. I hope I'm not bored all of you guys enough. I will quickly move to some industry statistics and talk about why this has become relevant today, right? A lot of organizations today are seeing that a very small percentage of their workforce is motivated. A very small percentage of their workforce is involved in goal setting. And a lot of them are not even having control over their own performance metrics. With these realities that are present, and this is statistics, this is not my research, these are large organizations that are bringing this to the table. What would be your guess as to what the productivity of an organization is? Okay, that's at an organization level. What do you think a person who is not aligned to his manager, a person who wants to do something else and is asked to do something else, what is his personal motivation and what is his inner strength to do more? When you are swimming against the tide, we become tired very quickly and we give up faster, right? But a lot of organizations have opened their eyes to this and they have said that they will align to what individuals bring to the table. They will understand who is bent in which way of thinking and what is the best fitment in place. So here is a list of few organizations, and I'm bringing this to you so that all of you know that this is not cooked in air, this is not cooked in isolation and vacuum, but there are organizations that are accepting and adopting this mindset and approach to their workplace. And how they are doing this, I'll tell you. Performance appraisals. Performance appraisals today are taking a very different shape in organizations where conversations do not happen around what did you miss. Before you come to a point of what did you miss, the question revolves around, do you have the tools necessary for you to work? Are you motivated in your place to work? Do you think you're supported well enough to work? Do you think you're the right fit for the work? After those questions are understood, only then we move to the answer of how can we improve performance. Employee engagement, motivation, and morale. All of these are very specific and strong focus areas for organizations. They conduct a lot of leadership program, individual development program, manager development program to better understand what are the different mix and match of individuals who can work together and what would the impact of that output look like. So organizations invest in leadership development programs even for youngsters such as yourselves. Gone are the days where you are asked to fill a form. Do you want to be a tester or do you want to be a developer or do you want to be a manager? Yes, you are asked that question, but organizations today care to go 2 levels deeper to say that, hey, even within that, what kind of work is best suited for you? I'll share a story of this organization that was doing a workshop to identify amongst their, top 15 odd performers who would be given the next promotion. What this organization did is they saw that there are certain set of individuals who had a very strong combination of influence and had the ability, certain execution ability that allowed them to manage very well. So based on certain talents, the winner was picked. The promotion was decided. It did not go to the person who was the highest performer. The promotion did not go to the most meritocratic. It went to the person who showcased the best ability to manage multiple priorities. And that is a talent, my dear. So organizations are changing what merit means and what it brings. They are not taking away the effort and hard work of other people. But just because you can work very hard and produce stellar result is no longer an indication that when you become a manager of 15 other people that you will continue to do so. There are hundreds of failed cases that the industry today has seen, that when software engineers and developers continue to do extremely well in their individual contributor role and suddenly made managers, what kind of disastrous results are seen. So new approaches are being sought to put the right person in the right place. I'll give you an example of another organization and how strengths are getting applied. Induction and orientation, the last point here. Harley-Davidson and Facebook both use the strengths approach, and when you join these organizations, they ask you to make placards of your top 5 strengths and put them on your workplace. When you are sending out your introductory mail, all of you would, eventually when you join your organizations, you would be asked to write something about your hobbies, your background, where you came from, what you like to do. In that, it is mandatory that you write what your top 5 strengths are. And in many organizations, strengths is used in their signatures. I'll give you a few examples of how this is being used in the industry as well. You go to LinkedIn and there are several organizations where people use and mention their talent themes. So each one of you out there, I'm not necessarily saying that you have to follow the same approach, but this is to bring to your notice, to your cognizance, that this is an accepted approach. This is a powerful approach. And when you are able to present yourself with this approach, with this mindset, you are far ahead of the game. You are not only creating impact for yourself at an early age, but you are creating impact for everybody else around you. And with that, I would say thank you. I'm happy to open the session for Q&A.
Thank you so much, ma'am. When I heard of emotional intelligence, it dragged me towards your session. And ma'am, trust me, it was a great session.
Thank you.